Hello everyone, welcome back to The Budget Sportsman. About 6 months ago, I did a review of the Trophy Ridge Hotwire bow sight and I told you how much I loved it. Now I've been shooting it a little bit over 6 months now and I thought you might appreciate a more long-term review / update on how I feel about it. First of all, let me say I stand behind almost everything that I said in the original review video. If you haven't seen that, there'll be a link up in the corner for that, and make sure you go check that review out. I know a lot of you have already seen that. In that video, I told you I thought it was one of the best whitetail bow hunting sights on the market, and I still believe that, especially in this price range. If you don't know what the Hotwire is and you haven't watched that other video, or you haven't seen it yet, I'm sure a lot of you have. The Hunting Public guys are using it this year. It has 2 fixed pins and then a 3rd movable pin. And so what I really love about this sight is that you can have your regular 20 and 30 yard pin for the typical whitetail setup. You know, a lot of guys are worried about whether or not they have time to move a single pin sight. This gives you that 20 and 30 yard pin without ever having to worry about that. You just got everything the same as you would on a multi-pin sight. But at least for me, once I get past about 36 yards, I've got that movable pin that I can dial in exactly to yardages. Now, one question I've gotten a lot is, how far out does it actually get you? Well, this bow is a Hoyt Charger. It's shooting around 60 pounds. I'm shooting a 420-ish grain arrow. I'm a 28-inch draw length, so I'm shooting around 250 feet per second. At 250 feet per second, I'm getting out to just about 72 yards out of this thing. So to me, that's fantastic. It's a little bit more than you're going to get out of a 5-pin sight that's set to 20, 30, 40, 50, and 60. Plus, you have the advantage of having exact yardages, 36, 42, 57, whatever the number is, you can dial into exact yardages. Really, really love that. There's a couple of things that I said in my original video that I kind of want to update. Number one is I complained about the ring around the sight housing here. My complaint was that my old Trophy Ridge React 5 had a kind of glow-in-the-dark ring around there that I really liked. And I kind of commented that the alternating colors of this sight just really didn't catch my eye as well, and I wasn't a fan of it. I will have to tell you that I'm still not a huge fan of it, but the truth of the matter is, on a daily basis, it doesn't bother me. I've gotten used to it, and it's really not a big deal. If I could choose, I would still take the glow-in-the-dark ring of the React 5 and some of the older Trophy Ridge sights, but it's really not a big deal. The other thing I said in the video was that this knob was kind of tight to turn. I've gotten some feedback on that original video that other guys agree it's super hard to turn. It does loosen up, but honestly I think it does most of its loosening up in the first few days. It still is fairly stiff. Obviously I understand that it needs to be stiff so it doesn't move accidentally, but I do wish it just had a little bit bigger knob that you could grip on easier, that would make it a little bit easier against that stiffness. I've thought about, I haven't done it yet, but I have a friend who does some 3D printing. Actually, it's my brother-in-law. I thought about seeing if he could rig up some sort of a 3D printed knob to do this. And so that might be an option that would really improve this. Again, it's not a deal breaker. I've gotten used to it, but there just does seem like there are times when it's just a little bit too stiff to really move easily to where you want it to go. There are a couple things that I want to mention now that I really didn't mention in the original video that may or may not be an issue to you. One of them is this. It has this built-in tool here, and I'll try to give you some close-ups of this, but it has the built-in tool. And this basically adjusts everything on the sight. You can adjust your lateral and your vertical adjustment, your elevation and your windage using this sight. You loosen it up and then it's micro drive system. So all that this is really used for is to loosen it. Your 20 and 30 pin, however, this is the knob that controls the micro drive. There are some small little places up here where you stick this screw in and you turn. So my number one complaint that I didn't mention in the original video, and it's petty, but these are not marked. These 2 little knobs up here where you put in the tool, they're not marked in 2 ways. Number one is it doesn't tell you which one is 20 and which one is 30. Now if you look inside the sight, you can kind of figure it out. Obviously, if you turn one and it moves the wrong one, you've got it figured out, but that's really not what you want. You really don't want to be moving the wrong one and messing up one pin trying to sight in another one. I wish it would be marked with 20 and 30. It could be very simple to do that. The other thing that's not marked is which way you turn for up and which way you turn for down. This tool, all that it says on it is tool. I really wish it had a little arrow. All I would have to take is an arrow one direction and say up or down. I think most of us are smart enough to figure out which is the reverse. The problem is, when you're sighting in for the first time, you turn it a little bit and you figure out, okay, this is the way I need to turn, and it kind of gets in your mind. But if later on you need to make an adjustment, like I did just a few days ago to my 30-yard pin, you certainly don't, if all you need to make is a tiny, tiny little adjustment, you don't want to make that tiny little adjustment in the wrong direction and then end up having to backtrack. It would be really nice if there's just a small arrow on here that said which way was up and which way is down. Now, the last thing that I want to point out to you is this tool is not a one-piece tool. I was kind of under the impression that it was, but it's not. What it is basically a screw or a bolt that goes through the handle. And what has happened over time is mine has loosened up. I think originally probably how Trophy Ridge made this is they took Loctite and actually Loctited the two pieces together. You're probably not going to be able to see that, but I believe it was Loctite. There's a residue. But what happened over time is it loosened up, and it eventually loosened up to the point where it broke free, and now you can't use this tool because when you're trying to tighten down your sight, all that it does is loosen the knob off of this screw, and you just spins the knob. Is it a deal breaker? Absolutely not. If you've got a set of Allen wrenches like this, you can use that, or any kind of Allen wrenches, you can use that. It's a standard size. It's not anything special about this tool, so you can use the Allen wrenches instead of the tool. What I plan on doing is trying to find some Loctite and re-Loctiting this with the permanent style of Loctite. So that's my plan for that. Is it a deal breaker? No, but my suggestion is if you notice it's starting to get a little loose, maybe just go ahead and break it free. There's an Allen wrench spot right here in the top where you can break that free and then re-Loctite it right away so you don't end up in, like I am in my position, where it just doesn't work at all. Anyways, obviously there's a few negatives that I'm pointing out to you about the sight. Really, they're super, super, super trivial, pet peeve kind of little things. But the truth of the matter is, I still stand behind the fact that this is one of the best whitetail bow hunting sights on the market today. If you're interested in buying this sight, I'm going to leave some links down in the comments or in the description for both Cabela's and Amazon. If you purchase from either of those places through my links, it does help out the channel, so I'd appreciate you doing that if you're considering buying this sight. So anyways, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you already have the sight, that it gave you some things to watch out for, and if you're thinking about getting the sight, that it gave you the information you need to make an informed decision. Until next time, remember to get off YouTube and get outdoors into God's great creation.